hello, like our earth is screaming. She's like in pain, right? Each of us, we're all in pain. Everybody's doing jobs that they don't love. Everybody's like trying to achieve some sort of achievement level status that's not even help. The people who achieve those levels are not even happy. So obviously cat videos are going to be some sort of release. We need some sort of like
find the humor in the situation. Hi, I'm Maria, otherwise known as the Fit Foodie. I'm a chef, holistic nutritionist, author, inventor, and mom. And I want to welcome you to my podcast. It's called Recipes for Your Best Life. And with every episode, I'm peeling back the onion on fitness, nutrition, health, wellness, and family. The truth is, you're the chef of your life. And for every important pillar, there's a great recipe worth sharing. So every week, we'll explore them together. Think of it as food for thought that you can really sink your teeth into. So join me, and let's squeeze the joy out of this life, because you only get one. Can I get a fork, yeah? Indy was drowning. The son of Indian immigrants, he was used to performing at a pretty high level. You know, straight A's in school, quick to learn, easy to adapt, likable, until he hit medical school. And that's where he contracted a chronic illness from the stress and hectic lifestyle that was affecting his digestion and really crippling his ability to thrive. He turned to alcohol, prescription medication, and pot, and was on the true path to self-destruction until the wisdom of an Indian elder interceded. And that was the start of his path back to joy. Finding health and happiness through Ayurveda, meditation, yoga, and selfless service is something that Indy believes can change the world. In this episode, he'll share what led him to the path of new awakenings and how he uses it to guide others to discover that formula of happiness, from schools to Fortune 500 corporations to the San Francisco Police Department. And he'll also share the 3 essential steps that you can take today to start feeling more of that joy. Let's listen.
Bless you.
Indy.
Hello.
So nice to meet you, and
Likewise.
Nice to have you on.
Thanks. I'm excited.
So give me a little background, because when I found out a little bit about your story, I mean, you were going down a completely different career path than the Zen guy that I see in front of me right now. Can you kind of just share with us, where were you in your headspace and what made you turn the corner?
I was so now I'm Zen, and before I was Nez. I guess I was backwards, you know.
Kind of something like that.
I mean, I feel like I've reincarnated several times in this life. It's been interesting. You know, some people reincarnate over multiple lives. In this very life, I've been a doctor. I've worked on Wall Street. I've worked in the entertainment industry. I've been a teacher in the education industry.
Don't they call that just like rebranding yourself, like Madonna? You know, she's had a lot of different phases in her life too.
And I feel like, I don't know, I feel for myself, I can't speak for anybody else, but when I was little, people would ask me what I wanted to be. And, you know, I'm an Indian kid, straight A's, immigrant kid, you know, super high achieving kid. And I would say I want to be an inventor. I used to read books about Leonardo da Vinci and read books about Tesla and all.
I'm fist bumping you right now, because we sound like we have the same immigrant story.
And my uncles and aunts would be like, what? An inventor? How much money does that make a year?
I know. Why don't you want to be a doctor or an engineer? That's what my parents would have said.
Oh, yeah. So I actually ended up, you know, eventually as I got older, I kind of fell into that mold, right? Like, okay, I got to be a doctor. I've got straight A's. All right, I'm doing well. You know, biology major in college. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to med school. But while I was even before med school, when I was an undergrad, I came down with a chronic illness, a chronic GI illness. And I went through several different diagnoses, you know, going from Crohn's disease to ulcerative colitis to, okay, we don't know what it is. And that was while I was an undergrad. And then I carried that into into medical school.
What were your symptoms like? What were you feeling that made you know, wow, this is just not right. Something's wrong?
I didn't even think that something was wrong. I thought this is what I'm going to be dealing with my whole life.
Hmm.
Like that's what I was told. It was like, oh, well, this is, you're dealing with it. And it was like, it was really unfortunate because my whole life up until there was pretty healthy. I played sports. I was very active. I was, really busy with myself. But I guess the stress and the pressure and all these things kind of built up. And I think also I started drinking alcohol in college,
Hmm.
which I didn't drink in high school. And the alcohol probably played a factor too. And I didn't think about taking things out. There was really no education. Even when I went to medical school, my first few years in medical school, never did we have to like treat ourselves. Like we never
Okay,
had to like sit down.
hold the phone for a second, because I I am always so fascinated by this because I really, for at one point in my life, thought that I would be a brain surgeon. That was really what I
Wow.
wanted to do. Absolutely.
Wow.
I wrote a dissertation about it when I was in elementary school and told everybody that my parents knew.
Amazing.
And the medical field has always intrigued me, but I hear this time and time again. How is it that we don't in med school you don't learn about nutrition and taking care of yourself proactively?
No, it's almost it's incredibly interesting, right? Because I mean, I'm going to reference Ayurveda because what saved me and what changed my life was Ayurveda. And when I went to go study Ayurveda, for the first 6 months, we had to work on ourselves. We had to like look at our diets. We had to observe our sleep cycle. We had to observe our behavior. If we had to change certain things in our diet to see how that would affect our behavior and our thinking and our sleeping, right? And in medical school, there's like not just do we not like look into nutrition. I mean, yeah, there's a class on nutrition, but there is no like scientific inquiry, right? There's no scientific
There's
method being
one
practiced.
class on nutrition in med school?
Yeah,
One class.
one class.
Wow.
And then by the way, that's one class of memorization. It's not like inquiry. It's not
Practical or applied nutrition or anything
no.
like that.
And I like science. Like I've always been like a scientist my whole life, even when I was a little kid, right? I mean, the best scientists are kids. And when I was like growing up, I was like thinking, oh, medical school, you're going to be a scientist, you're going to be solving problems, you're going to be doing all this stuff. When I got there was no scientific method. There was no opportunity to ask questions. Like when I raised my hand to ask questions, I would get in trouble in med school.
And so you shifted. So kind of just bring us up to speed. So you went to med school and you practiced medicine. When did
So
you know?
I didn't finish.
Oh, you
I
didn't
burned
finish.
out.
Yeah.
No, I
Okay.
burned out.
Yeah.
I had to drop out. There was actually a deep dark abyss that happened. My chronic illness kept getting worse, and I was getting more and more frustrated with the system. And there was a point where I remember one doctor told me that they might have to remove a piece of my intestines, and that was kind of the tipping point. I just fell apart. I went down. I just started trying to kill myself. I started drinking alcohol,
No.
popping Vicodin because I had access to it, and I started smoking a lot of pot, and I just dropped out. Like one day I stopped going, and I just like never went back, and I never followed through. And my family like fell apart. You're talking about immigrant families, and they're
Yeah.
like, what the heck is going on
They've
with our
put
kids?
all those eggs in that basket for you, right?
Exactly, and they worked their butt off. They weren't like middle class or upper class. We were like lower class, lower middle class, and I felt like a failure, and I was trying to kill myself. And it was my mom introduced me to a teacher from India, a meditation teacher. He was visiting from India, and that man changed my life. He just introduced
Had
a
you been
meditation.
exposed to any of that growing up, just being of an Indian heritage, like yoga or Ayurveda or anything like that? Was that part of your upbringing, or was this new?
No, Indians are weird. We don't like most Indians don't practice any
Hmm.
yoga or meditation. I mean, we have religion, like I'm Sikh, with the beards and the turbans, Kundalini, whatever. But like we didn't practice it like we didn't practice it. It was like more like cultural,
Hmm.
than like a practice.
Interesting that
And
Americans and other cultures have embraced the lifestyle around it so much.
so much. In fact, I used to be embarrassed by my culture, and then now it's like everybody's like wearing turbans and like they're
Oh, dude,
putting their
you're
hair in
cool,
buns.
man. You're cool.
Everybody's got hair in their buns, and I'm like, wait,
Hey, look, I got a bun right here. Right here.
we've been doing that for thousands of years. It's like it's not a hipster thing. It's a thing. But yeah, so when when I dropped out, it was really tough. But it was also an opportunity for me to really fall on my face, to really fall into that deep dark abyss. And when I came out of it, I was like, F the medical system. I'm gonna like find out what else is out there. And that's what like really started my journey. I mean, that changed everything in my life because I was open. I was open.
So it's interesting because I think there are a lot of stories like yours where people are in a deep, dark space. They are hurting, and that's where they find light. But that tipping point for you came out of, it sounds like a really bleak period of darkness. Was there ever a point where you just felt like, this is it, this is my destiny, and I'm not coming out of it, and I'm just, it is what it is, I'm just going to drink myself and smoke myself into oblivion?
Yeah, and I was popping Vicodin, so I knew what I was doing with drinking alcohol and popping Vicodin. Like I'd studied, what happens to your liver, and I knew what was happening. So I was definitely consciously killing myself. But at the same time, something in me, right? There was like this like click, this glitch or whatever. I was downloading, I was pirating. Don't tell anybody. I was pirating a lot of movies. All the movies that were coming out at that time, and just watching all these movies all day long. I just like locked myself in the room and just watched movies. My girlfriend at that time broke up with me, which added salt to the wound, because she was really sad and frustrated about what was going on with me. And I just like locked myself and I watched movies. But here's the thing. While I was doing all that, killing myself, I was also like subconsciously downloading all these stories and like connecting to mythology. And I recognize it now that those stories kept me alive. Like watching those movies and watching those things, because it gave me a frame of mind that I can create my own story. Like I can be my own story. I don't have to like be a victim.
So there was a glimmer of hope, and then your mom came along and connected you with this, person from the old country who introduced some concepts to you. What happened then? Did you start practicing Ayurveda? And maybe you can explain a little bit what Ayurveda is for everybody listening.
Well, I guess first I'd started practicing Kundalini properly, and not like Western appropriated Kundalini, but like the guy he came from India. He was a turban Sikh man, and he taught me a meditation. I always knew this meditation, but I'd never like practiced it in that way. And he like gave me a couple of instructions that kind of like tweaked me. It was like a tune, right? And so I started practicing.
Like how would you instruct us based on what he instructed you? Is it that simple, or is it that hard?
It is actually that simple. He said, anytime I'm feeling anxious, anytime I'm feeling like I'm not in the right place or things are not aligned, he said, just start repeating this mantra. And so it's a mantra. It's called the Mool mantra. It's from a philosopher from the 1500s named Guru Nanak. And so I started repeating that mantra. Like anytime I felt anxious, whatever, I started repeating it.
What was the mantra?
Mool mantra. You want me to repeat it?
Yeah.
It goes, Ekonkar Satnam Kartapurik Nirbo Nirvair Akal Murit Ajuni Sepang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Happy Sach Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach.
Beautiful. Now can you translate? What does it mean?
It means that there's one vibration. It's moving through all things. It can't be ever explained. That vibration was always the truth, is the truth now, will always be the truth, and to always act without fear, without hate, because that truth is within you.
Beautiful.
Yep. And so it really resonated with me. And I started practicing it right away at cold turkey. I went off the Vicodin, which is like crazy when you talk about,
really,
things like that. Like I just used that meditation to kind of curb my appetite for even like my depression and whatever I was feeling. I was curbing it with the meditation.
So you were literally kind of repatterning your brain waves to believe a different truth, right? Which is, exactly. I mean, that's what it takes when you have an addiction or you have something that's taken hold of your body. You have to retrain it to crave something else. So this replaced that for you. How long between, you said it happened immediately? Like, are we saying literally overnight you went from taking Vicodin to not taking it anymore?
Yeah, because I went home and started, I mean, I believed him. He blew my mind. I mean, I am such a skeptic. You would never think looking at me now, but I'm like such a hardcore skeptic, and I'm still a skeptic, right? And I don't believe anybody. You got to prove things to me, or I'll test it, myself. And I really was testing him as much as he was testing me, and he really blew my mind. He was so simple, he was humble, and I really appreciated that about him. Like it wasn't the show. He actually really he cared about what I was sharing with him. And so I followed through with it, and right away I started training my brain, popping out of it. And a part of it was, my addictions were because of what I was feeling, not so much of, and most addictions come from somewhere, right? They're not just like an addiction. It comes from some sort of mental or spiritual,
What's
anemia.
and it's a trauma. I mean, generally speaking, some